What's going on, everybody? Good morning. Good morning. It's Friday, and something might have happened yesterday, but we'll get to that later. What's going on? Good morning, Ron.
Good morning, good morning. We're back for another episode of the Buckeye Roast. Plenty of news to talk about. Q, what happened yesterday?
Some more of the Pro Football Focus list came out, baby. We in here.
Boo! Ryan Day names a starter, but we got a special guest to talk about it. Not just Q here with his PFF list. We got our guy, Project Pat of Menace to Sports. Pat, what's good?
What's up, fellas? How we doing on this Friday?
Pretty good, pretty good. Almost through the week.
Hell
Plenty
yeah.
of news to talk about. Nice full show. Ryan Day did us a favor, man. And I was worried. I thought Ryan Day was going to come up here and live up to his name, Lion Day. But I honestly feel like this is the most honest conversation that we've got from Ryan Day in a long time. So I'm excited to dive right into it. But I know Q has PFF lists to talk about. So Q, take it away.
Well, first, I have some house cleaning to go through. Like the video, everybody. We appreciate that. If you are on Twitter, go ahead and share, retweet, and then hit that follow button. Go ahead and do that. We got podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Everybody's got one. There's no one here that don't listen to Spotify or have an iPhone. So go ahead and do us a favor and give that 5-star review, ask a question, all things like that. Let me give a shout out to Dylan. He was our first guy in the chat today, followed by Dan, and then some other guy tried, but he wasn't successful. Just kidding. Good morning, Gmo. Thank you for trying one of these days. You will get there. Appreciate you. So that's what I got for house cleaning. Am I missing anything? Oh, tomorrow. David Sanders will commit tomorrow on the 17th. So we will be in here probably a half an hour before his commitment. So come hang out, join us, heartbreak together, or we're all celebrate together. That's all I got, bro. Ron, Pat, you ready to jump into it?
Yes,
Hell
sir.
yeah.
Okay, so I got some news for you. Got some news before we hop into the good stuff. So I want to get you guys' take on this. So the group of five, the famous non-power five, is discussing a playoff where it's an invitation only playoff, kind of like the NIT for college basketball. So thoughts on that? What do you think about a group of five playoff?
I mean, I love it. I think it'll be cool to see kind of those, lower tier schools battle it out in a tournament style. I mean, why not? I mean, we're already having the expanded playoffs for the Power Five and the FBS aside from the one G5 school. So yeah, why not give them a chance to get a little hardware, especially because the bowl games are becoming, meaningless the more time passes, change it up a little bit. I'm all for it.
I agree with Pat. I mean, the bowl games have been relegated to almost nothing anymore. It's kind of like, look at these guys that didn't make the playoffs playing an extra game. So like to give some sort of meaning to other teams outside of the 12 playoff teams, even though I think the 12 playoff team is massive, or 12 team playoff is massive. I think expanding that and giving these teams that don't realistically have a shot of winning that 12 team playoff something to play for makes a ton of sense. And of course, more money.
Yeah, more money, bigger games. We do know the G5 is going to get at least one automatic bid in there. So they'll have about one team where everybody says, well, they can compete and win a title. So I guess we're going to see. But I think it's good. I think it'll add some fun. And maybe Miami will get invited. They might get a trophy. So, yeah. Oh, man. Okay. Other news, the Pro Football Focus top 50 list. We have 11 through 20. Pat, you haven't been here, but we've been counting down the top 50 players on Pro Football Focus's list. So 11 through 20, there is no Ohio State players in here. So Ron will have the fun on Monday of thinking about who's left that will make this list. But we got some notable names. At 12, Luther Burden. At 13, Malachi Starks. At 16, Dylan Gabriel. And at 19, Shedeur Sanders. So in 11 through 20, there was one Big Ten player and 5 SEC players. So we talked about it last time. We're like, oh, man, the Big Ten, they got some of the best players in the country. Yeah, we didn't make it to the next part of that list because they were saving all the SEC players for this section. So Ron, Pat, what do you think about the players 11 through 20? Did they get them right? Should guys be higher, lower? Let me know.
I mean, it feels like Shedeur Sanders is one of the best quarterbacks in the country. 19 seems a bit low, but I mean, and then you see the SEC bias piling in there. But we also talked about it the other day. I mean, Ohio State has two 5-star cornerbacks in their class. That's more 5 stars than the entire Big Ten signed in the class of 2023. So it's not that surprising that the talent is so heavily weighted towards those conferences, because the Big Ten has had a lapse, especially outside of Ohio State. And even with the success that Michigan has seen, it hasn't really translated in recruiting, despite all the success that they've had on the field the last 3 years. Their recruiting classes haven't been top tier.
Yeah, I'm taking a look back at some of the other ones just to get caught up here. And honestly, I'm surprised that that Jack Sawyer is as high as he is on this list at 21. That's actually kind of surprising to me.
Yeah,
but no, I think the rest of this, like the 11 through 20, looks pretty standard. Dylan Gabriel, I think I would have him over Shedeur Sanders, so I agree with that. I think 15. I'm gonna butcher his name, but Tatora McMillan, the Arizona receiver, I think he's a stud. And I think it's probably right to put him behind Luther Burden, but those two are going to be neck and neck this year. I could see McMillan having a better year than him just because of the, I guess, lesser competition for Arizona than for Missouri. But yeah, I have no beef with this list.
Yeah, it has been bad so far, and it looks like Luther Burden will be probably the top true receiver ranked in this list. I know we were talking how many are better than Emeka. Looks like 3 right now. I know Travis Hunter's going to be in here somewhere, so the pseudo one will be up, so he'll be top 5, so he'll have some stuff to prove. But yeah, that was a list, so everybody liked the video, and let's really jump into what we came here to talk about. Ron, go ahead and announce it again.
Emeka Egbuka is going to be our starting kick returner.
There we go. That's what you came to see. Ryan Day names a starter. Will Howard, Bill Howard, Billy Football, Oppen Howard, all the names you want to give him. It is time. I was wrong yesterday. I said it might wait till past weekend. Ron was right. He said today was the day. So Will Howard is the starter. Instant reaction from both of you before we jump into what Ryan Day said.
I think it spoke to what we talked about yesterday, it being a formality. It's the earliest Ryan Day's ever named a starter in his tenure. He talked a lot about Will's struggles when he first got here, and it shows the work that Will Howard was able to put in, because you heard all of the things that Ryan Day discussed about Will Howard not having enough zip on his ball, him transforming his body, him really diving into the playbook and watching film by himself and really starting to understand this offense. And the fact that he took the challenge and did everything that Ryan Day asked him to do, and acknowledged that Will needed to improve coming out of spring. I think those were all good things to hear. And I'm excited. I think it's officially lying season. This guy is more than capable of leading the Buckeyes to a national championship. We're full steam ahead.
Yeah, I'm glad it's over and done with now, and the speculations, through. I think Ryan Day definitely had some PTSD about letting this thing drag on from last year, so I think that's part of the reason why he didn't wait for a second scrimmage to complicate things even more. It's just kind of been the unspoken truth that Will Howard is going to be the starter all throughout camp. And Devin Brown, I guess, showed signs of fight, but I think it's the right move for the veteran to come in. I mean, yeah, you paid him all this money, but he also has that experience that Devin Brown doesn't have. So when all you need is just kind of like a field manager and someone to be able to distribute the ball, as long as he doesn't turn it over, I think it's the right move. It's the safe move, I guess you could say, but I think it's the right move overall. And I think we've seen the growth of Will throughout the past 6 months. I mean, we were comparing interviews the other day from him right when he got on campus versus like a week ago, where he's like, I know I don't need to be the hero of this offense the way I was at Kansas State. And I think you see that, emotional maturity, and I think that's come a long way.
No, I agree. So Ryan Day said, we're excited to name Will the starter. He said, you feel him in the huddle, you feel his experience, which Pat just talked about. And I think that was the big weight. We've kind of talked about him, and my thoughts was like a little bit of Devin Brown with experience. So definitely bringing that in from Kansas State. We talked about his stats up here last time. And definitely it feels like since he's got here, he's improved massively. So I have no problem with it. I kind of knew it was going this way all along, but it sounds like Ron said it's lion season for people who participate in that. It's truth season for others. So we will see where that goes. Ryan David, more thoughts. He said, I think coming off the spring, everything was new. It was a significant change. Once we went into the off season, he changed his body, came in with a better knowledge of the offense. You started to see him take control and make good decisions. And I think we finally got some clarity on what they were really looking for, because he touched a bit on Devin Brown kind of not being consistent, kind of not being, he plays well, but it feels like it's in spurts. So Devin Brown was able to do everything they asked him to do for the most part, but named a second string quarterback. So let's talk about that. Devin Brown, second string. What do you expect from him this season?
I mean, I expect him to be the guy if something happens to Will Howard, if he's abducted by aliens or decides to just, retire to be an accountant midseason. Devin Brown seems like he's going to be the guy. Lots of hype around Julian Sane, but I mean, it's so funny the way that people talk about these interviews, because you read some of the write-ups after listening to him and it's like, did I listen to the same interview? Because it seems like everybody is like so giddy to say that Julian Sane is quarterback two. Ryan Day said all of these competitions are open. Anyone can move on this depth chart. Chip Kelly got up there and they're talking about it, and he's saying Devin and Lincoln also made pushes to be the starter. So it's just so crazy to me that like Chip Kelly doesn't say Julian Sane's name once during the interview, but then everyone's takeaway is Devin Brown's in a battle for backup quarterback. Literally the next words out of his mouth after he named Will Howard the starter was Devin's QB2. It wasn't Devin and Julian are battling for QB2. It's not Lincoln's pushing Devin for QB2. It's Devin's QB2. I don't know how many ways people want to spin this. He also noted that they asked him in the press conference, hey, what did you tell Devin after it? He said, I looked at him and told him Max Duggan was named the backup and then almost won the Heisman. So, like, where this idea that, like, oh, Julian Sane's just going to pass him. Like, anyone that's familiar with how these reps go in practice, I mean, Julian Sane's going to be leading mostly scout team. I wouldn't be surprised if Lincoln Kienholz has taken what little third-team reps there are once the season actually starts. I think Devin has to keep his head down and stay ready, and that's going to be the goal of the backup quarterback. Be a good teammate, support Will, and be ready if your number's called.
Absolutely. And I think, also it's important for him to be ready because the offense, I feel like, will flow so much easier. But, if something were to happen to Will, going to Devin as your number two versus Julian, the stylistic similarities between Will and Devin, are almost, the same. So I think it's important for Devin to, continue to, work at his craft and become more consistent, in that backup role, because again, like we saw it in 2014, you never know when your number is going to be called, and you need that next man up mentality that Ohio State's always kind of had. So I think he'll embrace this role, knowing the kind of kid that he is and the kind of work that he puts into it. I think he'll embrace it and be ready if and when his name is called.
All right, question for you both before we get to some more quotes. How confident do you feel now that we're not stringing this along to the end of training camp and we actually have a quarterback very early on? Does it make you feel a lot more comfortable going in? Are you a lot more hyped, or you're like, I could have waited a little longer, blah, blah, blah? So where are you at with this kind of style of quarterback battle, and we're in to get mid into August? I'll start with you, Pat.
Honestly, I'm like 10 out of 10 in terms of confidence, just because I feel like at this point now that was the main distraction for this team, I feel, was who was going to win the quarterback job. So now you've put that to rest, and everyone can focus on their job and improving day in and day out and getting this offense, humming for basically, once we get to the Oregon game, is going to be the real true test. But you got to now basically 2 months until that. So I think it's huge for the overall morale of the team to kind of, put your foot on the gas and go now. Will's the guy. We know what we have in him. We know what, to expect from him, a guy that can distribute. And as long as he doesn't, turn the ball over and try to do too much, and is able to extend plays with his legs when need to, all the other pieces are there around him. The running back, the receiving room, and the offensive line has improved. So I think it comes down to Will being who he is and understanding his role in the offense. And I'm thrilled that Ryan Day made the announcement yesterday rather than letting this drag on and just create more speculation, not only within, Buckeye media and the fans, but also the team. I just feel like the team needed that.
Yeah. Ryan Day talked about the team. They can see it out there. And like when he said last year he couldn't look the team in the face and tell them that Kyle was the starter at this time last year. He said this time last year he thought Devin was going to be the starter, and he said the team knows it and they can feel it. And it sounds like this team is rallying around Will Howard. Gojay said it in a chat. The team wanted it. Chip wanted it. It seems that everybody feels like Will is the guy to lead them to the promised land. And the fact that they're not stringing this out, they're not opening the door for Devin to go crazy or someone else to go crazy in a scrimmage and make this more of a difficult conversation. You can also tell that they're ready to go as far as not leaving that door open for any competition, any confusion, and rallying the team. You don't want any division between the team as far as guys secretly like whispering out of the side of their mouth like, hey, I don't know if this is the guy. I don't know if Ryan Day got the right decision, especially the way it dragged on last year. I think Ryan Day wanted his team to believe in him, believe in the right decision, and really get the decision right for the team.
Yeah. Did we ever get confirmation that Pat adopt a pet panther? When he comes in, you just hear some roaring in the background. We'll see you back here soon. Yeah, I have to agree. I agree 100%. I don't think the team wanted this to drag along for a while. I think they wanted to go time. This team is way too talented. We've talked about the hype coming in from before that. This is the greatest team of all time, the greatest team ever assembled, the Avengers, all these names for them. And it sounds like this team has handled business all the way through. We talked about it yesterday. It doesn't seem like just outside of the quarterback room, guys are taking things seriously. They're not out. They're not spending the NIL money. They are showing them to the Woody, and they are putting in work, and they understand the responsibility and the overall pressure and outlook on this team. So I think this is a perfect way. I mean, I could have waited till the weekend, but that's only 2 weeks into camp. So I think that 2-week mark, you get your quarterback, and this is the earliest, probably by a couple days. But you get your quarterback, and you say, all right, guys, we know what it is. The things are settled, and we actually got a lot more starters that we'll get to later, but it's time to go. So I'm happy with that. I want to ask this, Ron. Devin Brown, QB2 right now. Do you think he ever starts for this team? And I mean, not outside of injury. I mean, he's coming back. He wins a battle. Like he wins a battle.
Okay, so outside of injury, so yeah. No, like that's what I'm saying. I don't want to speculate.
Like Howard
we want a healthy QB1 through the season. I don't want to speculate on the possibility of Devin Brown coming in. But here's the thing: I look at this quarterback room. You see where Julian sits. You hear all the hype. It's just like you saw the spring game. It seemed that Julian Sain was closer to Aaron Nolan than he was starting quarterback. You know how Ryan Day feels about taking care of the ball, being comfortable in the system. Does Ryan Day lean on that familiarity and say, hey, I want a Devin Brown to be my Mac Jones stopgap quarterback? If I'm Devin Brown, after 2 years of going through this battle, I'm getting the hell out of here. I'm not trusting Ryan. I'm not going through this battle again at Ohio State. I have 2 years of eligibility left after this season. I'm going to Utah. I'm going to LSU. I'm going somewhere. I'm going to get a starting position, and I'm not playing around with Ryan Day. But if Ryan Day, sits down and tells him, hey, I want you to be the guy. I think you can be the guy you've showed us 2 years in a row. I mean, if Ryan Day was ready to almost name him a starter as a sophomore, he's been in the system for 4 years. Do you give him a shot and let him be that stopgap and give Julian one more year to get ready, let his body develop more, let Tavian St. Clair get familiar with the system? Because, I mean, if you roll out there with, if Devin goes, I would imagine Lincoln goes, and then you're looking at a room with Julian Sain, a redshirt freshman quarterback, Aaron Nolan, redshirt freshman quarterback, and Tavian St. Clair, a true freshman quarterback. That's a really young quarterback room. Is Ryan Day able to convince him to stay? I don't know. I highly doubt it. If I was betting, I would say no. Devin Brown does not start a game here outside of injury.
Pat, I will go to you. Do you think Devin Brown ever starts here?
I don't know. Like Ron just said, it's just been drawn out for so long now that I just don't see a path for this to happen unless, and I don't wish this for any reason, but unless Will Howard goes down this year and Devin, takes over and succeeds. But yeah, if that doesn't happen, I just don't see a path for him to stay next year, because at a certain point, Ryan Day needs to look towards developing the youth that they have in that room, whether it be Julian Sain or Aaron Nolan or Tavian St. Clair. It just doesn't really leave a path in my mind for Devin Brown to start next year, unless he thrives in a role this year, if he gets pushed into it. But yeah, other than that, I don't see him staying, unfortunately.
I got a question for you guys. Were you guys surprised by the transparency in Ryan Day's press conference? I felt like this is the first press conference where Ryan Day wasn't trying to give us the runaround. He spoke candidly about a lot of things. I mean, he acknowledged the struggles that we were hearing out of spring camp for Will Howard. They acknowledged the body issues, the velocity issues on his pass. He acknowledged that Devin Brown at this time last year, he thought that he was the starter. A report, I mean, Pat here from Menace to Sports, you guys were crucified for reporting that same thing on exactly 8/15 1 year ago. You guys said Devin Brown was thought to be the quarterback, and that, I mean, created a rift within this fan base that I don't think will ever be repaired. I mean, there are people that are Menace to Sports, Devin Brown, people till the day they die, and then there are people that will continue to hate that faction of the fan base forever. And I think it's unfair, given what Ryan Day said yesterday, justifying everything that was said last year. And no, they don't have sources inside the Woody. They don't know what they're talking about. They're making up fan fiction. It's almost to the point that there is a section of this fan base that doesn't want to believe the truth if it's coming from a source they don't like.
Yeah, it's funny. Like we talked about on the show yesterday how we were crucified for announcing that a year ago. But it's just it baffles my mind that people actually turned on. Forget about our platform. Like actually turned on Devin Brown and actually
Buckeye
him. Like he's a Buckeye. It doesn't matter, where you heard what information from where. You should be rooting for everyone to succeed regardless of the situation. So that was that's the main thing that I've just struggled to understand throughout this whole process of people who are like anti Devin Brown. It's got to be Will Howard. Well, listen, I'm team whoever's outperforming the other should be the starter. I don't care who it is. Like there's no agenda to push.
Yeah, I mean, play the best guy. That's who I am. Team, play the best guy. And when everybody was screaming, play Devin Brown, Devin Brown's doing the best in practice. We have the practice charts. We know the numbers. We're hearing the whispers out of practice that Devin Brown's lighting it up. And then you come out and tell us it's a close race, and no one inside the Woody that's letting anything out of there is telling you it's a close race. It's just like, be honest about the guy. And like it turned a faction of the fan base against him. And a lot of people should be looking at this guy that has stuck it out, left us with an experienced quarterback, because if he wasn't here, we saw Lincoln in the Cotton Bowl, and then we would have a true freshman quarterback as the next guy in. I think having that experience is going to be valuable for this offense this year. And I mean, I think Buckeye fans need to I think Dan put it perfectly on the timeline. It's like when a political primary ends. Your guy didn't win. It's time to get all on board for the party. And the party is Ohio State. And whether you wanted Devin Brown to be the starter, Lincoln Keyholtz, Julian Sayin, however you want the depth chart to shake out, it is national championship time, and it's time for the party to come together as Ohio State fans and root for everybody on this team, whether they're the starter or not.
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. Some validation for our guys. Finally, they do have a source or two out there somewhere. You touched on Julian Sayin. Day said he will compete for QB2 and he needs reps. Do we actually expect Julian Sayin to get? I feel like I've asked it 3 times. Do we actually expect to get some reps this season, Ron? I'll start with you.
Can I change this question slightly for both of you and flip it on you guys? Who throws the pass for Ohio State first, Lincoln Keyholtz or Julian Sayin?
Lincoln Keyholtz, I believe.
No, this season.
Lincoln Keyholtz, I believe.
I'm going to say Julian Sayin. I feel like, I don't know. I just feel like with all the hype surrounding him, as long as I get that he's had some bad moments this camp, but he's also going against the best of the best on the other side of the ball. I think Day will allow him to have a chance, whether it be late in a blowout game against Akron or early on. I feel like we're going to see him before Lincoln. I just for him to get reps, because we've seen what Lincoln can offer, and it wasn't pretty again against Missouri, and wasn't expecting to start in that game. But at least for me, I want to see what Julian can offer, even if it's against Akron's third string. I just think he's the future more so than Lincoln, and I think Ryan acknowledges that. So that's why I'm going to lean Sayin on that.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with that. I think Ohio State did Lincoln a massive disservice by not finding him any game time at all until he was thrown into against one of the best teams in the country. I think they're super happy he's back. He's loyal, and this program seems to reward loyalty all over. So I think he will get some reps this season. We all need to see Lakin. I mean, we all need to see Julian. I'm not arguing with that. I think he's most important to the future. But I think Lincoln will reward it. And Ronnie got a question before I jump into next.
No, I was going to say I agree with you. I think while Julian may move up and we might start seeing Julian before Lincoln at some point in the season, when it comes to the first pass, I think it's going to be Lincoln.
Yeah, I agree with that. And Chip Kelly talked, and he said, and this is what he had to say. He said, Devin had a really good camp on his side, but he also, like you said earlier, you were reading ahead in the show notes. Lincoln was in the mix in the preseason. So I got this question first. I'll throw it to Pat. The hell happened?
I don't know. I mean, he was always a project, so I just feel like he will just always continue to show moments of flashes of greatness and then also flashes of, oh, geez, this is – we brought him in as a project and it's still a work in progress. So that's the only logical explanation I can think of, other than the fact that, you know, Will and Devin are just so much more consistent than him when it comes down to it. And I guess Julian, with the hype surrounding Julian, I think it's easier to ride a guy like him than Lincoln in terms of who you want getting reps. But I don't know. I'm scary to think what might have happened.
My question for you guys is, with the Chip Kelly offense involving so much more of the quarterback run, that tends to lean to benefit the top three guys in the room that Chip Kelly named, as far as Will Howard, Devin Brown, and Lincoln Kienholz, more than the other two guys that are more pocket passers at Aaron Nolan and Julian Sain. Do you think that plays a role? Does this team have an identity that fits Will Howard's game most, and the backups will fall in line for how they fit how Ohio State has decided that they're going to play this year?
I mean, I think, especially for Lincoln, if you start with Will Howard at front, that offense basically trickles right down to Lincoln. I think it fits him perfectly with his mobility. He's going to bring those same things. He's going to run the ball, and he's one who needs to work on his game as a passer. So I think it fits him perfectly. It feels like we've gotten that Devin Brown is a little different. We've heard about his deep ball. We've heard about him stretching the field, and I feel like we have it, not just us, but the fan base has this little opinion like Devin Brown can't really throw, and he's the gadget guy. He just comes in and runs the ball, and they've talked about it a lot. That was not his game. He just did that because Kyle McCord could not. So I think it fits his game a little better to be in the typical Ryan Day offense. But we know Chip Kelly's going to come in and change some things and adapt to his quarterback. So I feel like this would give Lincoln the edge over Sain. And I asked what the hell happened if he was competing for one, and now he's not competing for two. So
that's the funniest thing to me. Like Chip Kelly names the three guys battling for the first string reps, and he says, Will, Devin, Lincoln. And you have people that are paid to talk about this team that come out and like, Julian's fighting to be the backup because Ryan Day said, oh, that's still going to be a battle. Well, what's he going to say? I know I have 2 5-stars as true freshmen on his quarterback, but they're actually battling for nothing. They're borderline walk-on players, and they're going to be scout team guys for the rest of the year. Like, is he going to come out and say that in a press conference? Like, what do you expect him to say there?
I'll throw to Pat. Go ahead, Pat.
I agree. I think you'll definitely see the offense flow through those three guys, like you said, and because of their mobility. So it makes sense for that to be the way the depth chart lines up, especially, with Will Howard and Devin Brown being 1 and 2. The only reason I see QB3 going from Julian to Lincoln is if for some reason the offense isn't flowing as well as they would hope early on in the season, and then injuries occur and we think, all right, shit, we might have to scrap this and go to more of a, pro style passing attack. And that's where maybe Julian would come in again, but I don't see that happening.
Someone in the chat said Day isn't that transparent. I think Day is transparent, and some people hear what he says and like to twist it because they have an article half written already and they already know what they want to say, so they try to fit the words around it. But nothing that I heard seems to indicate that Lincoln is automatically just going to go from in contention to 4th string.
Yeah, battling for QB3. I'll second that. I think just doesn't give information. But when he does, when he's not talking about a guy deserves something or a guy's working to get something and talking about what people are currently doing, he's pretty transparent as far as the starters go and what they bring. But I feel like when we get down the depth chart, that's where he gets a little murky. But coming from Chip Kelly's words, if Lincoln was in there for QB1, then I have a hard time believing he's not battling for QB2 at this point. And I want to ask for you two, is this now an even more important season than usually to go down this roster and get reps? Because we talked about quarterback room last year and we're like, guys don't have to really throw the ball. You have a stacked room with 5 guys in here. Is it important that we don't, especially you said it, Lincoln's probably, Will's gone. Devin Brown is most definitely probably gone after next season. You almost walk in here with no experience, and Lincoln may be gone. We don't know if you stick around, but those are going to be your 3 guys before Tavian St. Clair walks in. Is this added importance on we got to blow some teams out and get down this depth chart and really get some reps in, because we may be looking at no reps among 3 guys next year?
I'm always the play young guys guy, but at the same time, Ryan Day might not be here long enough to see Julian saying graduate if he don't fucking win. So go out there and do what you got to do to win week in and week out. And if someone makes it on the field that's younger and plays, awesome. But if they go out here and don't win a natty, I don't know. I don't know if they're gonna live long enough to see some, or not. If they're gonna, they're gonna live long enough. I don't know if their tenure at Ohio State is gonna be long enough to see the outcome. Like, yes, I would love to see all of these young guys get reps. I'd like to see Will Howard hang 49 in the first quarter and see Aaron Nolan playing by the 4th. That would be amazing. If they are able to do that, if they're able to run up the score, if they're able to dominate these games, get the young guy reps. But, once you're 6 games into the season, the focus needs to be this year. You have that many guys that chose to forego their NFL eligibility and come back for another year and compete for a national championship. The goal is beat that team up north, win a Big Ten championship, win a national championship. If we accomplish all 3 of those goals and one of the backup quarterbacks doesn't get reps, or we don't see as much James Peoples or Mylan Graham that we expected to see, I can live with it, and I'll just stare at a trophy every time I get sad thinking about
it. Yeah, I agree, Ron. It comes down to winning games first and foremost. I think we'll see, hopefully, in the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season, a decent amount of reps. But beyond that, it's like you go into a game, you can't expect a blowout every week. So you go into a game anticipating that Will Howard's going to play, all 4 quarters come Big Ten play, because that's just the style. The nature of the conference is that you're going to get, as Ohio State, you're going to get every team's best effort. So you can't expect all these guys to be getting reps later in the season. So again, against Akron, against Western Michigan, sure, that's to be expected. But yeah, again, later in the season, we just got to win. You can't be trying to get people reps for next year. Next year will happen next year. They'll get reps next year if that's the case. Let's focus on winning this year.
Yeah, and like Ron just put up, everybody smash that like button. We're about 30 minutes in, and we got 200 people around here. So go ahead and hit that like. If you're on Twitter, like the video, retweet. If you are not in the community, please DM us. It's a great community to be in. Our video goes in there. So if you are, go ahead and like, retweet that video so people can see it. It'll get to more people as well. I got some news for you. Let's get away from the quarterback talk a little bit, and we got some stuff to talk about. So, as we know,
you kid. You said you got some news. I was joking.
Yeah.
Not this like, week. What? That's news to me.
Yeah, maybe that's news to me as well. Maybe next week. Okay, so we all know we had a scrimmage on Saturday. Ryan Day dropped 2 names that won MVP: Emeka Egbuka and Arvell Reese. Now, let's give some people a flashback to Sunday's show. Somebody in here sold all their Gabe Power stock, sold it out, had a little lump sum, and invested in Arvell Reese. This has been the guy who's been talked about a lot. He's coming up. He's playing good ball. He won MVP on Saturday. For all indication news, it seems like the Heisman is the floor for this guy this season. Arvell Reese, is he making a true bid to start this season? Ron, I'll go to you first. Arvell Reese, might he start?
Bro, I need the social team to get out there and redo that Buckets preseason award graphic and get Arvell Reese on there, man. I thought that I was being, fair by like, hey, let's not rush this with Arvell Reese. We're hearing a lot of hype. Gabe Powers is still a really good guy, and Q is like, no. Call my broker. I'm selling all the stock. Give me all the Arvell Reese that you can buy. I don't care the number. Load up my portfolio with Arvell Reese. And man, you saw him win Silver Bullet of the Day. You hear that he's the MVP of the scrimmage. Seems like the sky's the limit for this guy. And I think before the end of the season, he's the most likely linebacker that we're going to see substituting in for Cody Simon, whether he needs a breath, whether he's pushing Cody Simon for that starting position. But for a guy to earn that trust in that linebacker room, not only from James Laurinaitis, but also Jim Knowles after being a utility guy last year. I mean, when Mitchell Melton went down there, like, oh, we're going to see what Arvell Reese can do at the edge during the season, and then we'll move him back to linebacker after the beginning of the year, just let him learn some of those pass rush skills. And now he's back there and dominating and pushing to be middle linebacker or the backup Mike already. And you have guys like Gabe Powers who's been here significantly higher ranked than him, and he's already getting pushed by a guy like Arvell Reese. I feel like that's going to be a name that everybody's looking to next year. And we already did a show this week talking about the insane depth of the linebacker room, and Ryan Day comes out and confirms that when we have a guy that's a redshirt freshman already pushing for reps this early.
Yeah, Pat, are you buying or selling the Arvell Reese hype?
Oh, I'm buying it. I'm totally on board with the Arvell Reese train. It's just exciting to see the transformation of the linebacker room, how we went from even 2 years, 3 years ago to where it is now. I think we have just unbelievable depth in the room, and I think Ryan Day would be wise to rotate, with those four guys, Cody Simon, CJ Hicks, Sonny Styles, and now Arvell Reese, find ways to get Arvell Reese on the field to give, much needed rest, especially as the season drags on, to those main three guys that, have been the presumed starters this whole time. Yeah, work Arvell Reese into the equation, man. If he's balling out and is scrimmage MVP against the best of the best that we have here at Ohio State, yeah, let him ball out, man. I'm excited I'm excited to see what he can do in his first taste of real gameplay.
Yeah, I'm a little excited, and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, but is this the first time we've got this kind of hype from a guy who was not the presumptive walking in starter? Because I feel like this is usually the returning guy. They're throwing them a bone. Oh, they're doing all the right things. They've been here for a while. Arvell Reese is about to break the mold and jump up 2 classes to get playing time here. He's got plenty of guys in front of him. Is this the first time we've kind of heard this? Pat, I'll start with you. Is this the first time you've heard a younger guy getting this kind of hype and you're like, wait, you might actually have a dude win a battle who wasn't walking in their 5th year and it's just back and been hanging out forever. This is a new guy in this locker room. So let me know. Do you believe this is the first time Day has can't get my words out. Do you feel like this is the first time Day's thrown a guy a bone of this magnitude that wasn't a presumptive starter coming back?
Absolutely. I think it's part of it is that Day doesn't really feel, I mean, yes, there's pressure, but because of the defense being as strong as it is, it's like, yeah, why not throw this guy a bone who's a freakish athlete and just see what he can do when given the reps and when given the opportunities? Because, you might be a little hesitant to do so when the linebacker room isn't as strong as it is now. Like, all right, yeah, let's go with the guys that we can trust with. And yeah, they might not be as freakish of an athlete, but we know what we got here. And I guess we've seen that play out the past few years. And nowadays, like, well, fuck it. Like, this defense is going to be loaded to begin with. Let's throw a guy like Arvell Reese a bone, and he's fucking jumped at the opportunity, and it's been exciting to watch.
Yeah, Ron, is Ryan Day breaking the mold here? Let's see a young guy win a battle.
No, we have a top 5 cornerback in the country listed as cornerback 4 on the depth chart. We've been hearing the Jermaine Matthews hype since he got here. Everyone knows what a baller he is, and I feel like they've thrown him a bone before just because they know you'd be cornerback 1 on any other roster in this country, damn near, except for maybe Michigan and 1 or 2 others. So to have a guy that caliber, you have to let them know that you see what they're doing out there. And I feel like Ryan Day is acknowledging Arvell Reese as far as being that next guy up and letting them know, like, you might not be ready now, or you're almost ready. We see you, and you're up next.
Okay. Well, just so everybody know, I'll have my mansion moving in just in a couple weeks here. That stock hit like Nvidia at the end of 2023. So we're really moving up the ranks here.
Bro, your portfolio out here looking like Pelosi right now.
You gotta make moves.
Insider trading at its finest.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Q, who you know inside the Woody, bro? Out here trading like your Congress.
Yeah, Dave, thanks for texting me, man. I appreciate it. So he also had a mention. We're gonna pivot over to the wide receiver room, and we've talked about this going in. Kojo and Tui, Jaden Ballard.
I'm not going. Go ahead.
Lord. Sorry, I need some water. Mylan Graham and Bryson Rogers all got shouts from Ryan Day. They've all had a good camp. It's really the feeling of Zone 6 is back, and it's actually Elite 6 this time. So those guys got hype going in. Ron, I'll give you this reaction. We talked about the wide receiver room. These guys continue to get hype. Are we going 6 deep in Zone 6?
You will see 4 guys play this year.
Go on, Ron.
4.
Energy, man.
Nope. I'm sticking with 4. You're gonna see 4 guys play. I mean, just by the names that you're hearing, I can already tell that's Ryan Day setting up for. You're gonna see Brandon Ennis, bro, and watch. There's gonna be some. Mark my words. Mark my words. There will be. You're gonna hear David Adolph or Reed Scottsdale fucking catch before those 4. We'll mark it down on the show right now. One of those 2 will catch a pass before the 4 that you name.
On the record.
Where's
the on the record button? We need a
Bro, David Adams caught one before Brandon Ennis last year, and you're betting that these guys are catching a pass before? No, I'm not going. David Adolph or Reeds will catch a ball before one of those 4 that you just named.
All right, Pat, I have a different question for you. Okay, so we talked about Kojo, Ballard, Rogers, and Graham. Who do you think of those 4 makes the biggest impact this season?
I mean, I would say Ballard just because of his speed, and I think he might get a look on special teams. So I think less of as a wide receiver, more so maybe as a return man, we could see Ballard make an impact. I like Ron just said, really wide receivers are going to be 4 deep, and that's it, unless someone gets injured. And I think maybe Mylan Graham probably is the best chance to contribute as a receiver. But I think overall right now, I'd say Jaden Ballard, just with the threat of him as getting reps as punt returner. I think that's big. So that's what I would go with.
I agree. If I had to pick one, I think it'll be Ballard this season. I want to say Rogers. I just don't feel like he's going to get enough reps for us to truly see him. I feel like Ballard will give us a flash in a pan somewhere. We'd be like, oh, he does run 24 miles an hour. I think he'll make the most out of limited opportunity. So I think that'll be the biggest impact. Ron, I'll give you a chance to answer who makes the biggest impact out of this group.
I'm going to go with Jaden Ballard. Like you guys, I think he's going to be a runoff guy. You saw the clip of Justin Fields talking about how they used JMO here, and they just used him as a runoff guy. Go ahead, run deep and pull a defender away so we can bring Chris Olave or Garrett Wilson across the formation where your defender used to be. And I feel like they'll use Jaden Ballard in a similar way. I think that Bryson Rogers has a bright future. I still think he's 1 year away. Our guy Dan said the Kojo love was baffling to me. I agree. I'm not sure what was going on there, but maybe if you take Ryan Day for his word, he says that Kojo's really come along and he's really impressed him with the things that they've asked him to do this fall. So, I have to take his word. He was telling the truth about Will Howard earlier in the press conference. I don't want to call him a liar yet, but that one there started to slip back into Lion Day a little bit.
Well, you got to remember the word was out that Kojo was significantly faster than Jeremiah Smith as it recorded out in miles per hour. He was leaving him in the dust in every drill. So you got to buy a little bit to the Kojo hype.
Jaden Ballard was too. Is he going to play over Jeremiah Smith?
I'm just here to report the news, man, not to answer questions. A guy. Well, first, before we get to that, everybody liked the video. Got over 200 people in here. If you're on Twitter, retweet, all that good stuff. Throw some comments in there, all that good stuff on Twitter. Podcast, do not forget, leave a 5-star review, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, ask some questions. We will get to those. Okay, a guy we talked about a lot yesterday, Justin Fry. might have actually been doing some work. So the word is out that Tegra Shabola, a young, talented lineman, is a starting level player at Ohio State. So the word was Justin Fry came in and was like, well, I need all these 5-stars for in the trail. I got a 5-star right here that I need to develop. So Tegra Shabola, do you think, and this is for both of you, do you think he wins the job at right guard this season?
I feel like Ryan Day has been trying to tell us since the Cotton Bowl that he's not playing Carson Hinzman, and I didn't believe him. I thought it was a bluff, and he's like, no, not playing. So, I mean, I have been loud about thinking that Carson Hinzman was going to win that right guard position, and I mean, yesterday they did everything but name Tegra Shabola the starter, and again, I feel like that takes away some of the criticism that we've had of Justin Fry, because one of the big criticisms I had was Tegra Shabola is a top 40 player in his class, a true freshman when Justin Fry got here. He's going into his junior year. Why isn't he on the field? Everyone talks about the development that Fry has here at Ohio State. Well, where are the young guys that have been here, the Luke Montgomerys, the Tegra Shabolas? Why aren't we seeing these guys? If he can't recruit, he's a developer. Well, where are these young guys? And now we're seeing Tegra push for a position, and I feel like that makes a good argument for the Justin Fry's a developer crowd if Tegra is able to get on and help this offensive line.
Do you think this is all coming to light now, though, because of what happened with Josh Petty and now with David Sanders' recruitment, tomorrow? Do you think this is all kind of Ryan Day's way of being like, all right, and it's not as bad as it seems for Justin Fry and on the recruiting trail? Like, oh, we got this guy Tegra right here. He's going to be making a strong case to be the starting right guard, kind of a message to offensive lineman recruits?
Bat, you actually stole my next question. That's what I was going to ask. This is a hype train because it's like, well, this guy ain't recruiting. He's got to be here for something. Yeah. I feel like I'm buying it a little bit. I feel like Tegra, we've heard his name. We just haven't felt the consistency from him as it's been reported. I mean, we know he's talented. We know he can play ball, but I feel like I got to buy it a little bit, and I feel like it does help Ryan Day go ahead and calm the noise a little bit. I don't know, Ron, how you feel about that?
No, I think I definitely think that calms the noise. And with the David Sanders decision tomorrow, I feel like it lessens the blow if he doesn't come to Ohio State and you're able to show that Tegra is able to get on the field. And I feel like that, is a notch for Justin Fry to show like, hey, look, I brought Josh Simmons in. He's improved. Josh Fryer, he won Iron Buckeye. He's improving. Donovan Jackson still here, still getting better. You bring in Seth. I mean, allegedly the snapping issues are under control. I was on the timeline yesterday and I saw an Alabama fan tweet that he was watching old games and couldn't believe that the snaps to Bryce Young from Seth were still low. I had to reply and say, hey, that's my center. Leave him alone. Like, don't talk shit. I posted to Terrell Owens. That's my quarterback meme. Like, don't talk about my center like that. I don't care if Bryce Young was 5'6" and the balls were low to him. I have only heard about one bad snap during camp. So if he can keep it rolling, Ryan Day actually did say at his press conference that Seth McLaughlin has been the most consistent offensive lineman throughout fall camp. I don't know how much that's due to his health because there's been a virus ravaging the offensive line, but it seems like Tegra has been able to it seems like Seth has also shown some flashes since getting here.
Yeah, I'm with you. It seems like maybe finally we'll have a breakthrough with one of these talented linemen, hoping so, and crossing our fingers. So a guy that talked yesterday we haven't talked about is Jim Knowles, Himmy Knowles, who has no questions to ask this season because he delivered top defenses in the nation last season. But he did give us an update on the D-line, which is very talented. He said his second team defensive line looks like this: Caden Curry, Kenyatta Jackson, Hero Canoe, Caden McDonald. So I can get your reactions to that. Ron, I'll start with you. Second team defensive line, how's it looking?
Solid. I mean, these are a lot of guys that we've been asking to get reps for years. I feel like we talked about it a lot this season, that this is the first year where this team is so loaded with depth that there aren't many concerns about the rotation. In years past, you saw Larry Johnson rotating and you're screaming, why is that guy on the field? And this year it's like, hey, JTT looks like he needs an inhaler. Go ahead and throw Kenyatta or Caden Curry out there. Like, make sure you're rotating these defensive linemen. Larry Johnson is always ready to push back on any criticism of his rotations because he says, I see these guys in practice every day. I'm acutely aware of how many snaps that they can take and how before they get tired and they can give their maximum amount of effort out there. So Larry says he knows his guys. I trust them. And I think we're going to see a rotation because there's so many guys out there that you can trust, especially with you look at this defense with so many guys returning. It is going to be crucial to get reps on the defensive side of the ball more than ever because there's so many older guys returning that aren't going to be here next year. And you're looking at a defense that's going to have a lot of first-time starters next year. So these rotations are going to be crucial for next year's season on the defensive side of the ball.
All right, Pat, I will change the question a little bit for you one more time. First, you can give me what do you think about the second team defensive line. But which of these guys, Caden Curry, Kenyatta Jackson, Hero Canoe, or Caden McDonald, do you think also has the biggest impact this season?
I think, well, I'm going to say Caden McDonald just because I'm buying the hype from Sonny Styles' his own mouth. He had an interview with Chris Drew earlier this week, and he said the kind of underrated guy throughout fall camp this far has been Caden McDonald on that defensive front. So I'm excited to see if the hype is true around him. And, if Sonny's saying that he's been balling out, I trust that. And I think it'll be exciting to see him. And like Ron said, it's just crucial for these guys to get reps, with all the turnover we're going to have after this season. So I think, honestly, between him and Caden Curry, I think have the best chance to make an immediate impact this season. I feel like Caden Curry's been kind of a staple name now as that kind of next man up behind JTT and Jack. So I think we'll see an impact from him. But yeah, I think just getting these guys reps and keeping everyone fresh so that they're not more, especially with the extended season now with the playoffs, I think it's important to keep our main guys fresh as the season rolls on. So getting these guys reps will be even that more crucial.
Yeah, I'm probably going to go with Hero Canoe, who is the prototype in this defensive line. We actually haven't talked about Hero Canoe maybe a lot this season, but we know we had a lot of hype coming in from last season and one of the big time battles we won against Georgia to get him here. I'm hoping this season we have the turnaround of he's in there, he's playing well, and this is a guy we talk about gonna have a giant impact next season. Tywone Malone's another guy we haven't heard, but it's just so many guys on this defensive line. I almost feel like even better from the linebacker room. Is there any way to really screw this up? just send 4 out there and we'll be all right. So that's how I'm feeling with the depth of this defensive line. And close out the show, I got some returner. Oh, go ahead, Ron.
Before we get there, I know I spoiled this next part of the segment. I thought this was the big announcement that we were getting to, and I announced it too early. But there are 250 people watching live, 70 on YouTube, but there's only 30 likes on the video. We got to get that up above 50 before we wrap up this show here. So if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you smash that like button. If you're watching on Twitter, go ahead and retweet the video. Go ahead and throw a like on it if you're in the Ohio State community. Q, tell us who's going to be returning kicks.
Okay. So the list goes as follows. These are the players in for kick return. We have Emeka, we have Carnell Tate, and we have Travion Henderson. It sounded like Travion was at the bottom of that list, but I'm going to need him to move him up to the top of that list. Travion Henderson is dynamic. He's the fastest out of that group, in my opinion, and kickoff is all about straight line speed. I think Travion Henderson returned kicks. We got Quinshon Judkins here. We ain't got to worry about him breaking a toenail. I need him back there. If not him, I need Jaden Ballard. I need 1 and 2. I need straight line speed at kickoff. Pat, what do you think?
Q, 100% agree. I want Travion back there. Like you said, Quinshon here, he's getting less touches to begin with, so I feel like he's just going to be hungry to have the ball in his hands. So, like, getting that energy, returning kicks, I feel like that'll just give him just an added boost to his already elite speed. And I want to see him fly out of the end zone on a return. I think we're due for a kick return touchdown. I think Trey is the best chance to give that. He's got the truest home run power out of the list of guys here.
Ron, ruin my morale.
Boo! Get both of these guys out of here. Everyone knows this show is officially sponsored by the South Florida Express. Carnell Tate should be returning kicks and Brandon Ennis returning punts. Get these SFE boys on the field anytime you can. The disrespect that Q had right there for Carnell Tate, man, don't even finish the show, bro. Go pull up the IMG highlights right now and go watch Carnell Tate running back kicks against Bishop Sycamore, man. Carnell Tate should absolutely be the kick returner. Brandon Innes should be the punt returner. You bring all these South Florida Express guys in here for a reason, and that is your official South Florida Express sponsored segment on the Buckeye Roast. Start Carnell Tate at kick returner.
Who? What number does he wear?
Stop it. Stop it. Carnell Tate, returning kicks.
I'm just saying,
Brandon
we saw
Innes returning
Saquon return kicks at Penn State, and that was electric. I want to see Trey do that.
Is Travion Henderson Saquon Barkley?
I'm not going that far.
I heard they work out together.
Yeah.
So we also have punt return. Ryan Day said with punt return, all these guys will get a chance, but it was Emeka Ennis, Jeremiah Smith, and Jaden Ballard. So, Pat, who's your pick out of these for the return punts?
I mean, I kind of hinted at it earlier. I would like to see Jaden Ballard get a chance to shine in this role. Given that he's not going to get many snaps on offense as a receiver, at least I don't think. So I think Ballard with his, all we hear about is his speed and his electricity. So I wouldn't mind seeing him. Other than that, I'll agree with Ron here. I think Brandon Innes would be a great choice. But I'm going to lean Jaden Ballard for that one.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I believe those would be my top two. I didn't think Ballard did terrible last season at punt return for once. And when he first started getting him, I was like, okay, wait, we might have something. I would love to see those two get chances and split reps, but I would love to see what Ennis can do back there because he's taught a lot. He's guaranteed. Look, I put my house on a punt return this season for Ohio State. If I could get this after the Arvell Reese stock, boy,
that's gonna get expensive, yeah. With that new house you just bought with all of your game power stock.
I'll just say I can roll that over and be living next to CEOs. We got Elon in my neighborhood, Ballard, all the good ones. So that would be my pick. Ron, who's returning punts this season?
Brandon Innes. I just told you. Brandon Innes is returning punts. My big thing with returning punts is it's not as much about straight line speed and making at least one guy miss. If you're able to make one guy miss, I mean, most of the guys are so out of position because they're flying down the field so fast. If you can find that crease after you make a guy miss, I think Brandon Innes has more than enough speed to house something. I mean, you saw what he was able to do with his one opportunity against Purdue last year. I think he has more than enough speed to be able to take a punt back to the crib. And he also guaranteed it in his interview last week. The wide receivers met with the beat, and he promised that there would be a punt return for a touchdown this year. So all we needed to do was get Parker Fleming off the staff, and magically we were able to return punts for touchdowns again.
All right, well, there you have it. You heard it here first. That's all I have for the show notes. Is there anything you guys want to touch on before we get out of here?
Nope, your boy got to be at work in 2 minutes.
All right. Appreciate my guy at Project Pat coming in. It's good to see you every week. Appreciate you holding it down when I was incapacitated the other day. So, Pat, let the people know where they can find you at.
Absolutely. Follow me on Twitter at Pat_K, letter K, Hill 8. And on Instagram at Pat_K Hill, this time CAHILL 8. That's where I am on social media. Guys, appreciate you having me on. This has been fun breaking down good old Will Howard, Oppenhoward. I'm so into that.
There you go.
Yeah, man, we're glad to have Pat here. We normally do stats and betting, but there was too much news going on, but we wanted to have our guy join us for the big day of news. Q, let the people know where they could find you. Oh, Doug, right here. What time tomorrow? You can let them know because they can find you tomorrow.
I will be here at 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. if you live in other places. So that's what time we'll be here for the David Sanders News. We forget he had the merch on his website, so he better not break my heart. I was like, people.
No, I was going to say, I figured you bought the shirt to wear for the show tomorrow, right? You're going to have it
hoodies. And with my receipt, they're getting returned immediately if he does not commit here. But yeah, people, if you want to find me, first of all, I appreciate everybody coming in for the chat. Chat was bumping today. If you want to find me, I'm City Boy Quentin on Twitter. Find Josh on Instagram and TikTok and Minor League Films here on YouTube. So if you want to find me, I'm not hard to find. Ron, close us out.
Yeah, if you want to find me, you can find us. You can find me here 7 days a week. This is our first week since the season has started that we will be live 7 days a week. We're here weekdays at 8 a.m. for the Buckeye Roast. We will be live for a recruiting decision, a commitment tomorrow from David Sanders at noon, like Q said. And then, of course, Sunday, the flagship Buckeye BS at 10 a.m. with me, Q, Mike, and Cam. So make sure that you like, comment, subscribe. You follow us on Twitter so you're able to find the show every day this season. If you want to find me, you can find me on Twitter at 2Ts. It's 2_TEES. Make sure you follow us on Facebook. Find the show page, The Buckeye Roast. If you're in Ohio, you got a bunch of Buckeye friends, go into that invite tab, find as many people as you can. We'd like to start broadcasting the show on Facebook. So if you're able to help us out there, go ahead and find us on Facebook. And, of course, the Discord link in the bio. Appreciate everybody tuning in. It has been an awesome week. Thank you guys for the support. The numbers have been booming. Make sure you smash that like button before you get out of here. Go Bucks and OH.
Ayo.
My